All right, we'll bring this meeting to order, July 29th, Area Planning Commission. Would you silence your cell phones, please, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you call roll, Katie?
Bothwell?
Yes.
Caudell?
Yes.
Hicks?
Yes.
McWhirter?
Here.
Nevers?
Here.
Pearson?
Here.
Poland? Richmond?
Yes.
Schultz?
Here.
Stewart is not here. Todd?
Here.
And Atkins.
Yes. Okay, it's with sadness that I share that we have unfortunately lost a commission member, Mr. Tyson Knuckles, last week or so. We're going to miss him. Tyson had been with the Area Planning Commission for several years as a representative from Matthews. And Katie, I'm going to give a donation to the family, and I'd encourage any of the other commission members, anybody who'd like to help Tyson's family. I know that he had a couple young children, so my heart bleeds for him. So we'll have him in our prayers and our thoughts of family as we move forward. We will be selecting a vice president because Tyson was the vice president of the Area Planning Commission. So at our August 5th meeting, we will be nominating and electing another vice president. So thoughts to Tyson's family. I'd like to introduce Mr. Jim Strauss. He was selected as our new executive director last month. Jim comes with a wealth of experience in planning, as he was the planning department head at Wabash Municipal City. So we're very thankful to have him. Jim come out of retirement. And I bless him for that. We are tickled to death to have him. So I'd like to welcome Jim to Grant County. Thank you, Jim. Okay, we are going to table item 3, the minutes, tonight. We've got some corrections to do to those. So we are going to deal with that next Monday at our August 5th meeting. And we have a couple public situations that I'd like to get into. The first one being Mr. Jared Armstrong. In your package, you guys have got some information that's been presented by Jared, and Jared has asked to have the floor of the Area Planning Commission tonight to share his concerns. So Jared, if you would sign in, please, there should be a sheet on the podium there.
Okay. I guess first I would make something a little bit more presentable. I know this was going to be, the handout. I made something a little bit later, but what I'm going to read doesn't necessarily mimic that, but it does go along with the same context.
Well, anything that was going to be presented, there's a time frame. How many days?
It's normally 2 weeks before the meeting.
Sure, and that information was never shared with me, or if it was available, I did not know.
Sure.
But either way, we'll continue on. So
We're good.
My name is Jared Armstrong. I live at 7120 South, County Road 825 East. This is just outside of Upland. I'm speaking today regarding the dumping activity that's occurring on the property immediately south of my parcel. This dumping activity is occurring on a property owned by Jack Hyman, immediately southeast of the gravel pit that's operated by Jack Hyman Gravel Company. I have numerous concerns with this dumping activity regarding safety, property values, zoning, some of the negative effects to the environment, and road conditions. I'm going to touch on each of these as I speak with you today. First, I did want to share some background on the situation for perspective. I've lived at my current residence since New Year's Day on 2017. My familiarity with this property extends beyond that, as this home acreage was previously owned by my grandfather. Before the dumping activity began on the property in question, the property was not used as part of the active gravel pit operation on the neighboring parcel. The only activity that occurred was minor spreading of topsoil, spreading of manure and scraping of topsoil. There were no giant piles of fill, no constant dump truck activity, and no operations that constantly affected the daily lives of myself and others with noise, property damage, etc. In late 2019 or early 2020, I'm certain of the exact date, there was a change of use on this property and large amounts of dumping began in earnest. The material being dumped all came from Hartford City's large revamp of their streets and sewer system. This material includes asphalt, concrete, soil, etc. At the time, I brought my concerns to multiple environmental agencies and the county floodplain coordinator with no result. There was then a gap in activity for a short while. Then this spring, dumping activity began in earnest again as a result of the Main Street project that's occurring in Upland and the multiple construction projects that Taylor University has underway at the current time. To paint a picture, we had counted over 70 dump trucks in one day in front of our house. That is 140 trips back and forth on this same County Road 825 East each day. I cannot spend 5 minutes outside without seeing or hearing this loud noise constantly. I work from home. I can hear dump trucks, tailgates slamming inside my house. My residence is at the opposite end. My residence is on the north side of our parcel. We have 26 acres. It's that loud of a boom. Anytime I go outside, there's no larger of a gap than 5 minutes in between when a truck goes by. It is loud. I can also hear their tailgates slamming, and then sometimes the trucks are still running at 7 in the evening when I'm outside playing with my kids in the yard. So that's additional noise, past normal working hours. I have spoken with neighbors who worked on the night shift and have not been able to sleep due to this noise as they're home sleeping during the day. To touch on the current haul route goes down 825 East, which is not suitable for multiple reasons. First, this route is not safe. County Road 825 is not built for this heavy traffic. Further, it is not wide enough to allow 2 dump trucks to pass safely at one time. It is not even wide enough for a dump truck and a standard car to pass at the same time. My son rode the school bus for the first time during summer school this year. The first day, the bus driver could not get over far enough, and the bus tires went a little too far over the drop-off that's immediately opposite my driveway. This was as a dump truck was coming in the opposite direction. She was immediately concerned that she had damaged the underside of her bus and was taking it in to get looked at that same day. There are at least 3 additional families with school-age children on this route who will likely ride the bus this coming school year, and I feel this presents an immense safety concern for these children waiting on the bus with this number of dump trucks that sometimes begin at 6 in the morning. Another issue with this whole route is the ongoing property damage. As I stated, the road is not wide enough to support this truck traffic. So the trucks keep getting off into the side ditch of my yard and others. My neighbor has had 2 mailboxes that have been lost to these trucks. The underlayment of the road keeps being pushed to the side ditch and at times has been comprised of, and I'm not joking, knee-high mounds of this gravel and asphalt. My neighbor's son has a skid steer and he has at times been able to scrape this away and remove it. But there is nothing being done from the contractor or anyone else to correct this. Earlier this spring, I had 10-inch ruts in my side yard right next to my mailbox. I'm unable to mow and repair this area. The worst part to me of this is that Mr. Heinrich has his own gravel and asphalt road that connect these 2 parcels. These parcels connect at the corner, so you have one parcel that is to the west of me, one parcel that's immediately to the south, and they connect where their corners touch. He has a road that goes through the gravel pit property, goes through the corner, and continues to the dumping area of the property where the dumping is in question. This is made of gravel and asphalt, but he refuses to use this road as he fears it will damage his road, and instead has chosen to cause property damage and damage the county road that everybody is paying taxes to fix. It has already been fixed once, and let's say patched after some of the work that was, all the dumping that took place from the Hartford City material. That's all been smashed down, beyond repair at this point. To continue, one of the most important things I did want to highlight today is that the dumping activity appears to conflict with the zoning ordinance. There are multiple residences in the immediate vicinity of this daily operation, some less than 200 feet. Undoubtedly, all these surrounding owners have suffered a loss of property value due to extreme close proximity to this operation. To touch on 3 points regarding the zoning. First, homeowners were never given a chance to voice their concerns for this operation. To my knowledge, no application has ever been made for the county to review and approve this operation. No public meetings were ever held to facilitate open discussion and concerns among interested parties. Section 153.4 of the zoning ordinance notes that application to the county shall be made for a site approval regarding borrow pits, topsoil removal, land storage, etc. This section also notes the application shall include methods of screening the area, operations from view such as planting and screens or use of earthen mounds. None of this is in effect currently. To continue, point 2, protections to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood. The current operation has no measures to protect the integrity of the neighborhood. There are no setbacks from roadways, no setbacks from residences, no measures taken to screen activities. I currently have a soil mound 60 feet high and gaining less than 10 feet from my southern property line. This grows by the day. When referencing the county land use table, it notes special restrictions apply to landfills, borrow pits, topsoil removal, mineral extraction, and the like. Section 153.4 notes that a screen or buffer will be required for all sites to ensure the integrity of the neighborhood is not violated if abutting AG through R5. Additionally, section 153.1 notes setback requirements from residences, property lines, and screening measures that are required in these instances. Currently, fill is being dumped right up to the adjacent property lines and extremely near the road. When you look at IMI's operations elsewhere in the county, these screening measures are in place. And there are no residences immediately adjacent to their active operation, for reference. Point 3, a floodplain permit. All the fill being dumped is being placed in the floodplain, and to my knowledge, no floodplain development permit has ever been obtained for this activity. Section 153.3 of the zoning ordinance notes a floodplain permit is required for construction activities in the floodplain. This ordinance further notes that an application shall be made to the floodplain administrator, including plans detailing storage of fill, materials, existing and proposed grades, etc. With regard to the negative effects of the environment, there are no erosion sediment controls, no SWIP permit. Soil routinely washes onto the roadway. Concrete and rubble has washed down into the stream that flows directly into the Mississinawa River. Nothing being dumped has ever been tested for contaminants. It is my understanding that debris from tearing down a gas station has also been dumped at this site. Myself and others nearby are on well systems. I have concerns for what this is doing to our water quality. One thing that I would like to clarify is that this is becoming a dumping business. This is on a separate parcel from the gravel pit and completely separate activity. Not only are Upland and Taylor bringing all their construction waste here, but this is now open to anyone wanting to dump rubble or construction waste. What is being done to residents' property values and living situations is absolutely unacceptable. One person is making millions of dollars at the expense of everyone else's property values and quality of life. I'm urging the APC board to review this closely and take action. That's all I have to say today, but I'm happy to make any clarifications or answer any questions at this time, if necessary.
Questions for Mr. Armstrong, commission members?
What is IMI's involvement? Don't they own part of that or some of that? Or
So-
sold off to
Good question. IMI does not own this parcel. IMI owns immediately to the south of this parcel. Let me think here. I tried to print out my map, but
I'm right west of it.
it would be,
Other
the
side of the
river is to the west. Yes, to the west. They own to the west, and our parcel extends south along the river. Interestingly enough, IMI had considered operations at that parcel that is immediately to the west and south. IMI's parcel, Jack's two parcels, IMI's parcel, and our parcel all touch at four corners. And that's where Jack's road goes through to the other parcel where the dumping is. When IMI in 2017, shortly after we moved in, was considering taking up operation at that location, that is in the floodway, which is in the active jurisdiction of the DNR. They had applied for construction and floodway permit, and as part of that, they had to notify all adjoining landowners. That's part of the permit process. I spoke with their permit representative at the time, and one of my main concerns was where were they going to haul out of if they began operations there? Because they can't haul out to 700 because Jack's parcel's in the way, and So I said, are you guys gonna haul out 825? He said, well, that's the number one thing we're discussing, because as you know, 825 is not a very good road. Since obviously they have not started there, they have begun on the west side of the river, directly west from Mr. Heimlich's gravel pit. As I mentioned, they have those screenings in place. There's no residences directly within, less than 200 feet. I don't know at what time they would begin any operation at that other area. My guess is that, at some point they would try to acquire Mr. Heimlich. He's, I think, 90 years old, so I don't know what the status of his operation is going to be in the years to come. But my guess would be that they did not continue with that because they didn't want to haul out onto 825 East for all the reasons I've stated today.
Other questions, commission members?
Just trying to understand action items. Yeah, or just trying to understand like action items, what action you like. I hear kind of three primary things. If the dump trucks are rerouted to use his road.
Yes, you've got the yellow right there, yes.
If the piles are moved kind of inward away from adjacent properties within setbacks and they apply for a floodplain, does that?
I think you are on track there. The things that I would ask for, one is, to me, it's a simple, one thing that can simply be done is adjusting this haul route. Then you remove this immediate traffic on this road that's not suitable for this. He has the means, he has all the material there if he wants to build up his road to beef it up to handle the traffic. He has all the material on site. He has a crusher to crush the concrete if he wants to continue to put that down on his roadway. That eliminates the damage to the road. It eliminates all the traffic in front of the residences. That would be one, yes. Two, like you say, I'm not a lawyer, but when I read the ordinance, these things seem black and white to me as what is required, and none of this is being done. So yes, I would hope that we could move these back from the residences, meet what's currently stated in the ordinance. Those would be the first main things. The question I have as a follow-up is, in the ordinance, it talks about that site development application. I'm not sure if I'm stating that correctly, when it comes to landfills and mineral extraction. It's not clear to me if that is part of, a public process where if they would have applied to that, adjacent landowners would have had a chance to understand what's coming and not have it forced on them, and had a chance to voice their opinion as to how this is going to directly affect their daily lives and their property values. I feel like that was missed, and it seems like there was at least a point where that would have had to have been, because this is a giant change of use, like I said. And to clarify, I have no issue with the gravel pit operation that's immediately to my west. That's been there since, the 60s or something, and I don't hear the constant dump truck noise. There's not trucks in front of my house constantly. I hear their wash plant run every once in a while. They run like once a week. But this is separate from that. So kind of item 3 is, it appears to me there was a permit that was not applied for. There was no review approval that I have knowledge of.
Thanks. Obviously, probably what you would like is just, let's just stop it all and shut it all down and move it somewhere else. But in life, we have to find compromise. I'm just trying to understand.
Yes. I would love for it to stop and go somewhere else. I don't, at a minimum, those reasons are my starting point.
Jared, that's my neighborhood, and kind of lived there a long time. Jack has always dumped there. He's not dumped to this scale, okay? I guess zoning, do we know what that area is zoned?
It's residential suburban, which is almost like ag essentially.
Okay. So I guess, Jared, what I'm gonna suggest is that our legal counsel, Mr. Glickfield, and our executive director, Mr. Strauss, take a look at the concerns that you've expressed and the area-wide zoning ordinance references that you've made, and give them an opportunity to kind of discuss that, and then provide some feedback to you as to whether there needs to be action taken by the APC in regard to your concerns.
Okay. Is there a time frame I should look to?
I don't want to speak for them, but I would think that, a month would be reasonable. You guys,
Can I just offer a couple thoughts?
Okay, please, David.
Three things. Number one, the road, there's gonna be in the ordinance somewhere what the weight limit's gonna be. I would highly suggest contacting David White immediately, who's the highway superintendent, and tell him what's going on this road. He might already be aware of
He
it.
is aware, sir.
So he'll, if they're in violation, and he can call the sheriff's department, have them start ticketing each truck that comes out. That will stop that, because those tickets can be expensive. That's the roads. The zoning, the office needs to check on the zoning and see if this is an allowable use. My guess is it's probably not. But we need to see if this is an allowable use in this zoning area. If it's not, then we need to issue a cease and desist order to them to stop this immediately. Thirdly, it is in the floodplain. The ordinance does have floodplain requirements. I'm not aware of a permit ever being filed. I'm not saying it hasn't been, but it hasn't been brought to my attention. So I would also have the office check that to see if any of that's been done. Number one, verify it's a floodplain. It sure looks like it is. Number two, if it is a floodplain, have they filed the proper permits per our ordinance? If they haven't, again, they need to have it be cease and desist and stop all operations, and they need to be ticketed every day that this is going on. In other words, someone needs to go out there. We need to put a sign up for them, first of all, post, stop this operation. If either one of those two are they haven't followed. I don't know if they followed it or not, but if either one they haven't followed, that's what we need to do. And then they need to be written a ticket each day it continues. And then if it continues, then we can file and go to court and ask for injunctive relief to have them ordered stopped. So hopefully that answers the question on what we need to do.
Thank you.
The only final clarifying point I want to make, Randy, is Jack may have dumped there always. I'm 37 years old. I used to hunt that property. I've been around that property my whole life. We're talking 60-foot high mounds that are 1,000 feet long.
I drove by.
We're not talking minor things, so I just want to clarify that, that's all.
Sure.
Thank you, I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Just contact me after you've had a chance to look at that.
Okay, all right. Item 4, we just took care of Jared. We are going to move into a public hearing, and that public hearing is going to focus on resolution to amend the current solar ordinance. In your packet, you guys have, the commission members have a resolution that the commissioners presented sometime in June, I believe. And that particular resolution cited a couple, I believe there were 4 areas that they wanted the Area Planning Commission to take a look at. It's my understanding that we are not under any requirements to deal with that particular ordinance or that resolution, that it could be something that we consider, but I don't know that we're legally bound to deal with that particular resolution. The resolution that I would like to entertain after we have public comment is the one that you have before you, which is Resolution 1-2024. Mr. Glickfield prepared this for us, and I'm going to have him read and respond to that resolution. This is the resolution that was posted in the newspaper as the public hearing. This is the resolution that I'm referring to now. So, David?
Sure. Resolution 1, 2024, resolution authorizing the suspension of the filing of solar application. Whereas pursuant to the area-wide zoning ordinance section 153.075, subparagraph D, the Planning Commission agrees that a public hearing that changes, alteration, and or additions to the text amendment concerning the solar ordinance are under consideration by the Planning Commission. Whereas the changes, alterations, and or additions concern protection of neighbors' property rights, protection of farmers' drainage rights, protection of the waterway from potentially harmful chemicals, protection of the converted farmland, and any other issue the Planning Commission deems appropriate to the public welfare. Whereas these potential issues have a direct impact on the application process, and these issues may be in direct conflict with the objective of the comprehensive plan. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved that the application process shall be suspended until these issues can be addressed at public hearing by the Plan Commission, so that recommendations can be made to the county commissioners, and their recommendations, and these recommendations I said there, but these recommendations shall be made within 6 months from the passage of this resolution.
Any questions to Mr. Glickfield in regard to Resolution 1-2024 from the commission members? Okay, I don't know where Clayton went, but maybe he'll come back. Yeah.
There's one question, Mr. Quickfield, in lay terms, exactly what it is, and I presume it's us that is asking for this resolution, right?
Be correct.
It's a public hearing, and have we begun the public hearing process?
We are in the public hearing process.
Okay, and so, and Mr. Glickfield is presenting our resolution, correct? Okay.
Correct. Is that the way you would interpret that, David?
So the past several months, public members have come and have spoken about concerns they have with the solar ordinance. And a few members have asked me, knowing that the application process could be starting, is there something in the ordinance to protect the Area Plan Commission to give them time to address these issues before the applications are approved? So Mr. Atkins and myself had conversation. I looked at the area-wide zoning ordinance, and there is language in there that gives the Area Plan Commission the opportunity to review different parts, text of the ordinance and make recommendations after taking public input to have that changed. Tonight is just step one. Step one is to determine whether the commission wants to go ahead and start this process. That's all tonight's for. If the commission wants to start this process, you would approve Resolution 1, 2024, and then set public hearings. I would suggest breaking the issues down into 2 or 3 different categories, so you can address 2 issues, 3 issues per night, and let the public comment on each of those, and then take notes, and then the office can then make recommendations on how the existing ordinance should be changed. All this needs to be done through the ordinance within 6 months. That's how I would suggest, and I think that's the most efficient way to do it. So in other words, we don't have the public coming in and talking about 8 different issues. Let's focus on a few each time, because there are significant issues that need to be addressed. And just in my time being here, I've heard several from the public that are valid concerns that are not addressed in the current ordinance. So tonight, step 1 is approving the resolution. Step 2 then can be beginning the process of having the public hearings. And if it's okay with the board, President Atkins and myself can get together and break these down, and then we'll advertise what subject matter is going to be heard at each of the public hearings, knowing that we're going to need to have at least 2, probably 3, over the course of the next 4 or 5 months, if that's acceptable with you guys, of course.
Comment, commission members.
I'm not quite sure how to ask this, but bottom line is, we have a resolution from the commissioners directing us to do something.
Right.
Are we saying we don't need to do that at this point, and there's no consequence to not doing that, and we'll do this process instead?
Yeah, I saw this, I had not seen this before. They had asked for this, and my response to them would be, my recommendation of a response to them would be, we have your resolution, we've seen it, we're going to take further action under 153075D and undergo the public hearing process on several different issues. And hopefully that will solve what they're asking for in this resolution. Because To do all this within 60 days is not even reasonable.
But I just wonder if they would be able to do something to circumvent us if we don't meet that timeline. I guess that was my concern.
Well, we're in charge of the application process, and
Yeah.
so this very specifically gives us the power to stop the application process.
Is it true, Mr. Glickfield, that the area-wide zoning ordinance is an ordinance that has been approved by the commissioners?
Yes,
And that
correct.
this language is in the area-wide
Correct.
zoning ordinance, so it does meet the requirements of commissioner approval for us to do this?
You've actually got two different things going on. As Mr. McCord just set out, you have their request to us, and then this particular resolution, which is more based on the suspension of the solar application process. What they're asking is for a review of a couple of specific areas of which I'm sure will be discussed as part of the review anyway, but we're talking about suspending the solar application process itself.
And I'm fine with that personally, as long as we aren't opening ourselves up to letting them do something without our process, I guess.
Well, this was evidently passed
June.
June 3rd. I'm not sure how they would expect this board with this many members to get a quorum, have everybody coordinate their schedules, advertise for public hearings within the time frame that you have to set it out. It's just.
But they may not care about that, I guess is my concern.
They might not, but nonetheless, I believe we have the power through the ordinance to halt the filing of the applications.
You feel like we are protected then with the passing of this resolution
That's my opinion, correct?
for up to 6 months?
Correct.
We would have to review these kinds of things, regardless of whatever action that they might think is
Yes.
pertinent. Okay.
Other questions, commission members?
Yeah, so I guess I don't want to kick the can indefinitely, and that's probably what we might be accused of with this resolution. We've had a moratorium for 6 months. We've been supposed to be working on an application. While we're supposed to be working on an application, some progress has been made, but there's also been lots of discussion about, oh, well, there's a moratorium, should we even be working on the application? So I can support this if we can continue working on an application, and if it's clear to everyone what happens when the 6 months are over. When the 6 months is over, do we have to take applications even if we haven't prepared one? Can we pass another resolution delaying another 6 months? If there's no application, does that mean they can just build without an application? I mean, I'm not against, I suppose I'll lay my cards on the table. I'm not against delaying so that we can actually get solutions together, find compromises, work on the ordinance. I am against delaying if it's just going to be continual delay to try and veto what the commissioners pass. Now, even if we're delaying until the new commissioners take office, okay, that's 6 months from now, and the people have spoken will speak in the election in November. But I just want to be sure I understand what happens after these 6 months.
I think what several members of this board have expressed is their concern that the public did not get a chance to have input when the commissioners were considering the ordinance themselves. So there were issues that were brought up that have just not been addressed. And this is the Area Plan Commission's way of making sure those are addressed and then making recommendations to the commissioners on what aspects of the ordinance could be improved.
I guess
I don't think it's delaying. None of this would have ever happened if the process would have been completely dealt with to begin with, and it wasn't. So I don't think this is a delay at all.
Well, I mean, a 6 month suspension, I suppose that's semantics, but
That's what's provided for in the ordinance.
yeah, and I want to support it. I suppose the only thing that I'm requesting, and I don't even, I'll probably support this even without this being part of the motion, but just out there, I'd like if we can still be working on the application, at least to some level, during this time period while we're getting public input. And then we can change it after we get the input or after the ordinance is changed or whatever. But I feel like in the last moratorium, we weren't prepared for the worst case scenario where we don't have an application ready. I'd like us to be prepared for the worst case scenario and be working on an application, even if we think it won't go through, just to do our due diligence under what's been passed and to be ready for worst case scenario. But that's all I have to say on that.
Clayton, we've been working on the application, and it was only the question in regard to the moratorium thing, which, you know, under my leadership, I assure you that we will make recommendations to amend the ordinance, and we will have that completed within a 6-month period of time, and we will have an application for solar companies within that time frame as well.
That's all I request. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other comments, commission members? Okay, we will move into the public input part of this public hearing. Traditionally, we would ask of those that to be in favor of this resolution to speak. If anyone would like to do that, we'll give you 3 minutes, then we'll give the opportunity for those opposed, and we'll just kind of see how this goes. Could I see a show of hands of who might want to come to the podium and speak this evening? Okay. We would encourage everyone to share if they would like. Okay. With that being said, please, those in support of the resolution, please come to the podium, sign your name, share with us. I'm sorry?
We have time limit.
Katie's on it. And you know, we're gonna be flexible with this. What time is it? It's 7:39. I would like to be out of here by at least 8:30. So, and that, at least, at the latest. So Ed, we might be,
You do look like 25.
I won't be that long.
okay.
Good evening, board members. I appreciate your position. You guys are often challenged with making hard decisions. You give up your spare time and you come here and you do this and you work for the community, and we appreciate it. We know it's not always easy. And this has been a difficult time in the past 2.5 years. And we've gone through several drafts, and we did not get the draft that we wanted. The one that the APC passed overwhelmingly in its final vote and went to the commissioners, and they did not sign it. Anyway, the ordinance that was signed by the commissioners is very favorable to the solar companies and not to the public. There's very little, almost no protection for people that live nearby these. We want to make solar regulated, and we want to make our people feel like they're being respected and their concerns are heard and that their property is being taken care of. In this process, I hope that you pass this resolution. I think you have every right to do so. The commissioner is sending you a resolution to please amend the process is not according to state code. As I read it, state code is they can make amendments and send them to you and ask them for you to work on them. But in code, you're going to work on them according to this resolution, and you have every right to do that and take the time that you need to do it. Now, the application suspension is 6 months, so you really need to be done by then, of course. And Mr. Atkins has said so. And that's going to take some work. That's going to take some real effort, because there's probably a lot to be done to make a good ordinance. And there are several good ordinances out there in the state with other counties that things can be taken from that will make it easier. And so I hope that you find this task something rewarding. It is important, and we appreciate your work. I thank you.
Questions for Mr. Hartman, commission members? Thank you, Ed. Anyone else?
I am Andy Ellis from Fairmount, and I'm not going to be quite as eloquent as that is. But Mr. Glickfield said it right, that had the public been listened to when we started this process and worked through all the multiple concerns. I mean, I got several bullets that I can bring up today, but we're starting with trying to pass the resolution, right?
Correct.
So, and the fact that people need to be respected, their property needs to be respected, the community, farmland needs to be respected, that was totally lost. And so I commend that we're going to look at this. I don't think, Clayton, that it's just a delay tactic, because the way that the commissioner's ordinance played out has caused this to happen. So now, and even I spoke at one time that you folks need to try to figure out how to fix it. From what I can see, you're trying to figure out how to fix it. So I'm just one member from the community that supports what you're trying to do, endorse what you're trying to do. So look at all the things that have been discussed, and there's a number of them, and try to make sure that they are addressed, and they're done in a fashion that the people feel that you're supporting the people, and not so much just some business that's coming into town. Be careful of the shiny object, because it can really turn out to bite you. So thank you so much for your time.
Questions for Mr. Ellis? Anyone?
Just briefly, if you don't mind, since you mentioned my name, Mr. Whitfield and Mr. Atkins have assured me it's not just delay, so I'm not concerned about that. Truthfully, at least half the reason me bringing it up so that it's on the record, so that if we pass this 3 days from now, when Gen X calls the county, it can be on the record that we've said that it's not merely a delay, we just want to have public hearings, and an application will be ready in 6 months, according to, and that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. And I think that's only reasonable.
I think that's admirable, that it didn't necessarily translate that way.
Well, I also want to, now to be fair, I also don't want it to just be a delay tactic. If they say that it's not going to just be delay, then it shouldn't just be delay. We should hear the public, what they want, and then get an ordinance amended. And then if that means no solar, then we should have no solar. If that means solar with changed setbacks and requirements, then we should have that. And if it means, whatever it means, whatever passes, we should follow in that footsteps, because this is 20 years.
Well, and I'm not going to debate you.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is there's been a lot that's passed under the bridge in the last 2.5 years that you weren't able to see. So you're playing a little bit catch up here.
Well, I did get back at 300.
And I admire you for being diligent in what you're trying to do, so thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Mr. President, he made me think of something. We need to make sure there's a way, I don't know whether it's through our webpage or whatever, where the public is aware that on these particular nights, we're going to be having meetings. I don't know if there's a place where the public who was here today can check and see if we have that ability on the website, so they know what subject matter is going to be discussed on a particular night, so they can come and express their concerns. But I think we should try to get that as out there as much as we can.
Okay. Yeah, we might set a long-term schedule, and I truly appreciate that recommendation in dealing with certain items that night, rather than just having a shotgun approach and, I believe that's a great approach. I appreciate that, Mr. Glickfield. Anyone else?
Michael Duke, Township.
out in the east part of the county, and no man's land between Hanfield and Landis.
I know where that's at, Michael.
Well, if I said Dewville, I'm closer to that than the other two. So if you remember where Dewville is.
I'm old enough to know where Dewville was.
I commend the ATC for giving consideration to this resolution. I would say I am in favor of it, as most of you may know, I've been a vocal on this issue over the past several months, within a year time frame. Not as long as some other people have been dealing with this, but what I do want to recognize in my comments here to you, and as you take, if this resolution passes and you take steps to address various issues, that this would be an activity that's running concurrent with another activity called the revision to the area-wide comprehensive plan. And several of those issues of land use, natural resource use, protection, the will of the citizens of the county, that how they want to see our property and our resources being utilized going into the future. How that all comes together will be summarized in the area-wide comprehensive plan as well. There is an opportunity here perhaps to accomplish two things in the hearings that are taking place regarding to this resolution. That is also the accumulation of the development of further information for input into the development of the area-wide comprehensive plan. I would hope that, as you said, Mr. Schultz, whatever the outcome of that is, in the articulation of how we want our natural resources, our farmland, our community economic development to proceed, that they will be in combination of, in coherence with one another. And that
They
makes
are
sense
running
to me.
parallel to one another, just assuming the resolution
And
passes.
just as a very simple man that's done several things, I would just point out that I would hope one activity is completed before, or portion of that activity that is completed in the area-wide comprehensive plan is done in time to support what is accomplished in this activities of this resolution, and that one does not run counter to or give any other motivations to anybody else that may have an economic interest or motivation that is counter to that of the residents and the citizens of our county.
Questions for Mr. Duke?
I have a question, Mr. Whitfield, based on what he said, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I did think about that boy, we're gonna have a lot of public hearings in the next 6 months between the comprehensive plan and this. Are we allowed to have one meeting where we have a public hearing for the solar issue and then also a public hearing for comprehensive plan? Or do they have to be separate days, do you know? It'd be a long meeting, but.
You theoretically could have them at the same time, but based on my experience on the public hearings that I saw on the solar, it is going to consume a large amount of time. And then you're also still going to have, you might want to have some discussion after that on each of the issues that are presented. So I think it's going to be tough to, although you will, as Mr. Duke has pointed out, some of the information you receive will help towards a comprehensive plan for sure. But to do that and then try to also address comprehensive plan issues, I think it's going to be difficult. That's certainly up to the president and what he wants to set for the agenda. But just what I saw, I think it's going to be very difficult to do that, unless you want to be here 7-8 hours.
I mean, we're looking at probably 7 or 8 public hearings in the next 6 months between comprehensive plan and this.
I'm not sure how many public hearings we'll actually have for the comp plan. A lot of that's going to be survey type
surveys.
information, and then that will be provided back to us by Taylor, Seafort, and Williams. That's really their responsibility. I think we'll have input in whatever the product is, and I'm not sure how much involvement we'll have in the process as they present it to us. And we'll try and integrate that into our regularly scheduled meetings on a monthly basis.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you, Michael.
I would like to thank you for putting some thought and consideration into this. And also, I 100% support what Mr. Glickfield said, breaking this down into individual segments, because in a lot of these meetings that I've seen and been to, we come here, we get off on all different tangents. And I think if you could just, when you're in that meeting, keep that focus, that narrow conversation, and when something goes outside the guardrails, then you bring them back in. So, clearly define what you're gonna be talking about and the expectations, and then move that forward. And when one step is resolved, it's resolved. Unless something else leads to another, and then you decide that, hey, we may need to look this up. But you can't get anywhere if you're 2 steps in and then you want to go back to step 1. So I think by laying it all out and having a forward plan that says, here's where we're gonna, the first step, second step, third step, like you said, Mr. Whitfield, I think that's what is really, really needed. And then an update on, here's where we're at. This one, and this one is where we're at, and you can supply that with commissioners to show you're taking the steps instead of just, here we are. So I think just that forward thought process of having a structured plan is what was really needed. And then as each one of those is resolved, communicating that to the people that are putting together the area plan, and might take some considerations in to look at that. I think that would also give them some good feedback. So I do appreciate you taking the time and doing that. And I do agree with you that, you take the steps and resolve it. And where you're at the end is where you're at the end, and everybody's had the chance for their input, so.
Can I get you a sign, Mr. Creech?
Oh, thank you, sir. No, I don't want my name on it.
Hey, no speaking unless you sign in.
Thank you.
Anyone else, please?
What's Mr. Creech's first name?
Mr. Creech, your first name?
Bill.
Bill.
Beth Plank, Swayze. Thank you for bringing this forward to a resolution, and I support your resolution. As I have been looking at the information, I finally was able to print some of it. The solar timeline that was on the Area Plan Commission site, from 2021 to 2022, there was a lot of activity, all with the solar companies. October of 2022, all of the entries stopped. There were no entries after that. It wasn't until 2023 that we as the public became involved. I think there may have been one, I don't even know what they called it, but it wasn't a public hearing until the fairgrounds, when the hearing happened and the public was able to attend and talk about it. So for 2 years, it was local elected officials and solar talking about it. So thank you for bringing it out so the public can talk about it. Because we live it. It's our land. It's our community. It concerns me that our area plan, comprehensive plan is 27 years old. 27 years old. And now we're gonna go head first into solar. I don't see how we can do that without all of that happening first. I think in fairness to the new area plan director, and the commissioners. I think it's only respectable what you're doing in looking at these various topics and getting the feedback from the people that live in that area, farm in that area, work in that area, so that it's more effective planning. Because as I look at it, the original solar committee members there were 9, there's only 4 left. We've got to do something to allow the public to be involved. So I am in support of your resolution. I think it's critical that the public be involved so that can share their concerns and take whatever is decided, but that it is the public, the Grant County residents and taxpayers that have the opportunity instead of just local elected officials and the solar companies.
Questions or comments to Mrs. Plank? Commission members? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing them, we'll move into the next stage. Trina?
I used to be the one that wouldn't make eye contact with the teacher. When they're called on. I think I've started a lot of my comments to you as we have been here for the last 3, 4, 5 years. We've been listening, we've been engaging. Tonight I heard one comment that stuck with me was we need to respect the people of the land. And I can commit to you that we've approached every conversation, we've approached every interaction, every engagement with that. Respecting those that are welcoming this change and this investment into the community. The landowners who want to put portions of their property into a project for whatever their personal reasons are, to diversify their income, to preserve their land and their family, to preserve their land in an agricultural state. But also the same level of respect with the neighbors to our project, whether they're adjacent or whether they're across the county. The folks that will benefit indirectly from the project, but also have to allow us to help them through this period of change. It is change. We've heard the concerns. A lot of what we have heard will be reflected in our project application when we're allowed to bring that forward. And we look forward to that day when we can stand before you and show you how we've met or exceeded what you've asked of us. Not only have we've met or exceeded the local requirements, but also state and federal regulations. Mr. Glickfield touched on something important earlier, that not all items are addressed in your local ordinance. That's true. There are a number of state and federal agencies that are also playing a role in the approval of these projects and in the regulation of these. So I welcome the opportunity to visit with you to help share some of that information. I know you value information and education quite a bit. I ask that we can be part of that conversation, not to sway the decisions that you make, but to inform them, to give you the full context within which you can make your decisions. I look forward to fielding questions, getting that scrutiny. Don't go easy on us. Allow us to defend this project and this investment that we're bringing into the community. I think with that, I will leave you to your deliberations. We have, given the last 6 months, not tried to bring an application forward. We have used that time to listen, to engage neighbors. We hope, on behalf of Gina and my development team, I hope that you will continue to work on the application, to do it publicly, but to allow us to continue to do our work and to bring our application for your scrutiny during that time. Thanks.
Questions for Trina?
Who is Trina?
Trina is a representative for Gen X. Gen X has land leased in the Van Buren area. I don't know where else. Is that?
That is it. Yep.
And we are in the process of hearing people who are in favor of our resolution, correct? You are in favor of our resolution, is that correct?
No, I'm opposed to the.
He moved to oppose.
resolution.
So you've switched to the opposition at this point.
I should have announced that,
I
Bob.
didn't realize we'd switched.
You're welcome to take my side.
We will have an opportunity to switch back.
What is Trina's last name?
Raudebush?
Raudebush, okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
And she was in favor?
I'm not, no, opposed.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else opposed to the resolution 1-2024 that the public hearing is currently engaged in? Anyone else?
I'll speak.
You're somebody I don't know.
Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. My name is Kelly Pope. I am the Director of Development with Gen X Solar for this project specifically, and I thank you for having me and thank you for having this time. I know you'd like for some time after this, so I'll try to be very, very short and sweet. Really, I just want to make one point clear that we are here to be transparent, open, and education about this project as much as possible. I know it's been kind of difficult to get in touch with people and to have some sit-down conversations, but I know this is on YouTube and recorded, so I would love for anyone to reach out to us with any opposition that they might have, any questions they might have, to sit down and actually speak to the development company that is coming into your county, hopefully, as we say, and answer those kinds of hard-hitting questions, speaking about some of the myths that you might heard, or sometimes they might be true, and we can walk you through this and walk you through our development timeline and things that we do. But I also think that it's very difficult for a development opportunity to come into a county that we're not able to meet with these members of communities that decide such resolutions or ordinances. So I would just benefit your time. I don't know if that's in a public forum. I know I only have a couple minutes, but I would love to take some of your time and answer any of your questions, or at least hear your concerns, because any development, especially economic development in the county, is not only for the board, but for the neighbors, for the community. And we want to hear that, and how our development opportunity can support your development needs in the county. So I would just offer that as my last note. Again, my name is Kelly Pope. I'll write it down here.
Any questions or comments to Kelly?
One clarification I think would be important, Kelly.
Yes, sir.
We have on multiple occasions heard from the developers that have come in. You guys have had opportunity on at least 4 occasions I can remember at our meetings that we've had to.
In a public forum.
To express whatever it is. I don't want it to be left that we have left you guys out of the loop. You guys have been included from the get-go. In fact, you were included before we were. Okay, so.
Well, I would enjoy meeting with you all again, one-on-one, even as a caucus or in a public forum, just to be able to answer and have an open discussion about our development, because I believe it could benefit this community as a whole.
Clean, something for Kelly?
Yeah. I mean, I do feel for you in a way, because a lot of the transparency things were the responsibility of the commissioners, and there's local politics happening that always make things complicated, right? But that's, you guys are used to that, I'm sure. But I think a concern that I share with, I think, a lot of people here is, even if you convince us that GNEX, I mean, you and, I'm sorry, Katrina, your arguments have been, GNEX means, well, we want to be transparent, we care about the community. Even if you convince us of that, what happens 4 or 5 years from now if the land is sold, or leased to someone else, or the business gets taken over, or we make this ordinance and then solar companies that don't have your concern for the community happen? I mean, I suppose brass tacks, the only thing that you can control, I mean, what kind of assurances would we have that even if GNEX does want the best for the community, what's to protect us from you leasing out or subleasing or selling 3 to 5 years from now with a company that doesn't feel the same way?
Absolutely, I love that question. That's a great question. So this is why we want this open door policy. We are agreeable and we are open to sitting down with this committee and seeing what you all would like and what we can give to the community, and put it down on paper. Put it down that we will do X, Y, and Z, as you say, as you want in this community, as for your neighbors, as for the landowners, and we will make that happen because it is written down, it is made apparent, and we will abide by those. A very good developer, as Trina mentioned earlier, like, we want to jump through those hoops. You don't have to make it easy for us. We want to provide an opportunity for the community that we are not only benefiting the community as a whole, but this individual council, or this individual school system, or your road system, or your libraries, or your extension office. And so we want to make sure that we have just the availability, have that open door policy that we can put something down in our application, maybe, of, you know, some of those constraints that we could put into our application that we do have to abide by X, Y, and Z, and we'll be happy to do so. But we would just like that opportunity to be able to see what the community would like and need from the council.
So Kelly, to kind of write in on what Clayton mentioned there, as a developer,
yes,
you would lease the land,
yes, sir,
get approvals, build the development, and sell it.
So GNEX is an early stage developer, and so yes, in the long term, this would be sold to a long-term developer, but that doesn't mean that anything that we do at an early stage does not transfer over into the long-term stage developer. Anything that we sign leases for or in our application that would continue into the long-term development stage, that would not.
So as we go into the application process and the ordinance amendment process, then I hear you encouraging us to look to the next step of that to make sure that the property values, the protection of the Grant County citizens in the next generation are built into those documents.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And we're happy to abide by this.
Thank you. Any other questions for Kelly?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition to the resolution? I'm not sure whether those were oppositions or support. I guess we'll see how that goes.
Offers of cooperation.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, anyone else?
We just want to have a seat at the table.
Okay, no, but are you opposed to the resolution? Let me make the official switch. Okay, anybody else want to speak in opposition to the resolution? All right, we'll shift gears. We'll run a final stage here of those in support of the resolution. We'll take 3 people. Get close to my time frame here.
Myron Brankle here. I might say that the first meeting solar companies had with us at Marion High School. They were all speaking, and the gal that was in charge made the comment that it will be sold within a year. So that's the only thing I gotta say.
Anyone else in support of the resolution?
My bad, I missed it the first time around. Schaefer made me sit in the back, so I wasn't paying attention. Mr. Schultz, I'm gonna answer your question. Roland Rosario is an executive of GNX Solar, and we met at the fairgrounds most recently. He assured me that we as a county do not want GNX building these projects. So when you asked what happens if they sell the contracts, it's not if, it's when. And that when is as soon as it gets approved by the county. So when it gets approved, GNX goes away, we don't know who comes in. Probably the highest bidder, and GNX is on record at a landowner's dinner stating that they really don't care who it is, highest dollar, doesn't even have to be American. Ms. Pope?
Yes, sir.
Trina did not give you a heads up, so I'll do it. The people here, we're just a small number. The people that come out, we don't want you here. No offense to you, I'm sure you're a wonderful individual. Professionally, we don't want you or your business. In Grant County, and I think I can speak for everyone in the room, we've been doing this for a minute. If you do want to find the people who support it, you can go out here and find half a dozen landowners that support it, or some people who live in the city that support it because they watch mainstream media and they think that green energy is the way to go. In Grant County, I can assure you, most of us don't want you here. Again, I'm sure you're a wonderful person.
You're a very loud voice.
We don't want you here. So I am in support of this resolution. Should be no secret. The people have spoken through one election. This resolution would carry us through to another election. And I know that I think we've all been very vocal, both in person, online, using social media, through email, so much so that the commissioners won't respond to many of us anymore. So you guys are like the last vote, right? This panel. Sir, you're new. We don't want solar here. That's what happened to that guy. So it's been a while, right? We've all kind of taken a step back, if you will, but we are all in support of this resolution. We're all in support of industrial solar not being here. If it has to be here, it needs to be so incredibly restrictive that we are assured, no matter what, that we are taken care of. And that's through property value, through long-term. Again, one of the largest reasons I got involved with this was for my kids and their future. I want them to be secure if we move forward in this county with industrial solar on farm ground. So that's my plea to you. Again, I'm in support of the resolution. I think everyone here is. That's why we're here. I won't take any more of your time because it's a weeknight. Thank you, guys.
I have a quick request, Mr. President.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And thank you, Mr. Street, for always speaking. Thankfully, he's very polite in his opposition, but if people could address the commission, or at least the public in general, addressing individuals in the audience, especially from someone as less polite than you, could be received as intimidation at the worst, or it is at least not decorum in a public meeting held by Robert's rules or by our bylaws. So if we could just keep it to addressing us or the public at large, I would be more comfortable.
Understood. My fault.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
My name's Kyle Whiteman, and I'm for you guys changing this, and I'm not for solar. We're all, a lot of them, like Mr. said, against it. Me in person, been on battery plants, solar, stuff of that nature. What they don't let you guys know is you work on a solar plant, put them in radiation. I gotta get tested. Make sure that I don't get cancer and stuff of that nature. That is in our contract because of They ain't letting people know. No. Why are we putting it on farmlands? They also say that we can put animals and stuff like that. Ask them to show you one place where there's animals on it. Ask them to show you one place where there's crops being grown. They can't. They won't. She knows it. So does that company. Samsung's one of the biggest people that will buy that. They're just gonna come in, they're gonna put it on the ground, Samsung's gonna come in and buy it. Not Korean companies, guys. Not America. Kokomo battery plant, go over there and ask them. They're bringing in Koreans. It isn't gonna be Americans working that place. They outnumber us. So with that being said, let's change it. Plan's 27 years old. Who has a 27-year-old cell phone vehicle? We don't. It was way overdue. And they took advantage of us. Period. And that's the way that we need to look at things and update it, because if us, the people that live in this county that don't want it and stuff, hadn't spoken up, this company would have came right in the back door and taken full advantage of us. And then we would have been caught with our pants down. We would have lost property value. We would have, they destroyed this county. They don't care. They say that they do. They say that they care about us. Again, have them show you one place that lives up to everything that they're promising you on paper. They cannot do it. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Okay, one more, please.
Hello, I'm Todd Clancy. Wasn't going to speak, but more thought about this, thought I would. I'm on the subcommittee for the application. I'm a retired research and development scientist. It's always been very early stage, and I've devoted a certain part of that to solar energy very specifically. And I've always been an advocate for it, really wanting that technology to take off because it sounds great, right? But as for mankind, we have some technology leaps that need to happen for this to really come to fruition and be able to have it and depend on it in a meaningful way. I mean, to be able to put something up and be off the grid completely with a solar system, you're talking around $300,000 the way that I've calculated it. And that's going and buying a couple wrecked Teslas and using that computer system and those batteries, okay? So I am for this resolution because we need the time to build a very good ordinance that's very comprehensive and the application to be, completely, built in a very thoughtful manner, covering all the bases that the community has brought to bear. So I just wanted to put that out. I wanted to let you know that, I'm part of the solution here, and we really need that time to be able to do it and do it well.
And I will say, Todd has put together a draft of the application that we will be taking a look at. For those of you who may be wondering if we're making any progress, we truly are. So,
I was just speaking to our conversation last month. That's what I was speaking to. Thank you.
Any questions or comments to Mr. Glancy?
And thanks to I like having the openness, right? And be able to get real information from the opposite side. That makes a big difference.
Okay, we will close the public hearing and it is open for commission member discussion.
I move that we pass resolution, what is the number, please? 2024. Yeah, 1/2024.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve Resolution 1-2024. We have from Mr. Bothwell, we have a second from, Dane was first, I heard her first, sorry Frank.
Okay, that's fine.
From Mrs. Richmond, discussion, commission members, before we take a vote?
Just one question.
Yes.
I know we put like a 6-month time limit on this. What happens if we're close and we're not quite there?
We will be there.
Just wondering. Okay.
We will be
I hope
there.
we are.
That is our.
You're gonna be here every Monday night till we get it.
Okay.
No, I think what Mr. Glickfield proposed is a very good approach. You know, I think that if we can stay focused, we will accomplish this task in a reasonable amount of time. Other comments, commission members? Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Bothwell,
Yes.
Cotto,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
McWhirter,
Yes.
Nevers,
Yes.
Gerson,
Yes.
Bolin,
Yes.
Richmond,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate everyone for coming. Please, we will make sure that the meetings are scheduled. We will seek to schedule them in advance, and we will work to accomplish this task.
Question, do you want to have those meetings here, or would you rather do them at the 4-H fairgrounds so we have more room for more people?
My concern, Katie, at the 4-H Fairgrounds, we've got to get a better system of recording that and hearing the meetings. I know that we've got the president of the 4-H Park with us tonight, so that might be a possibility.
End up doing the different topics, you might have
Yeah.
people come to the different meetings, like here you speak on this, and then I'll go to this one. Give all that information, they might, hey.
We'll talk about that and see how we get along.
That's kind of wonderful, I'm thinking with that.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Cottle, we have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Cottle, Bothwell. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry.
I just want to make it official.